Parenting is hard, teaching is harder, but surviving both at the same time? That's a full contact sport played with complaint forms instead of helmets. Because somewhere out there, a parent is writing a 3-page email accusing a teacher of emotional bullying for giving homework. 1. One parent demanded that their child's teacher be fired for teaching negative energy. The subject? Newton's laws of motion. Apparently the phrase, "what goes up must come down," was too depressing and could lower a child's self-esteem. The teacher tried explaining that gravity isn't out to crush anyone's dreams, just their lunch if they drop it. But it didn't help. The parent insisted science should focus on uplifting topics, like rainbows or positive vibes. The school district actually called a meeting. Somewhere in that room, an adult had to say out loud, "Ma'am, gravity is not a personal attack." 2. A dad filed a formal complaint claiming the history teacher was encouraging rebellion. The proof? She assigned a project on the American Revolution. He wrote that discussing rebellion in class could make kids question authority at home. You know, the authority that falls apart when you can't figure out your own Wi-Fi. The teacher pointed out that the revolution was, in fact, how the country started. The dad's reply? "That's your opinion." America. The only place where historical fact can be up for negotiation if it inconveniences dad's authority. 3. One mom accused her child's art teacher of promoting witchcraft. The evidence? Her daughter came home excited about learning to mix colors. According to the complaint, color mixing sounds like potion making, and children shouldn't be encouraged to dabble in the occult with paint. The teacher, trying to be diplomatic, sent home a note explaining that red and blue make purple, not demons. It didn't help. The parent withdrew her child and posted on Facebook that the school promotes sorcery under the guise of creativity. Michelangelo rolled in his grave so hard he probably made another fresco. 4. A parent once accused a math teacher of ruining her son's confidence because he marked an answer wrong on a multiple-choice test. The mother insisted her son's choice was spiritually correct, even if it wasn't mathematically accurate. She explained that numbers vibrate differently for every person, and her child was simply expressing his truth through algebra. The teacher tried to clarify that math isn't interpretive dance. 2 plus 2 doesn't care about your aura. The parent doubled down and demanded the district allow alternative math, where personal resonance could count for extra credit. The district's response was just one exhausted sigh that could be heard from orbit. 5. One father wrote a complaint saying his daughter's English teacher caused emotional trauma by reading Romeo and Juliet aloud. His reasoning? It encourages teenage rebellion and unsupervised balcony activity. He suggested the school replace Shakespeare with family-friendly literature, like the Bible. The irony went over his head faster than Cupid's arrow. When the teacher politely explained that Romeo and Juliet has been taught for centuries, he replied, "Yeah, and look how society turned out." Somewhere, Shakespeare's ghost face-palmed so hard, the quill snapped in half. 6. A mom complained that her son's biology teacher was body-shaming tadpoles. The class had been studying metamorphosis, and the teacher said frogs go through awkward stages. That was it. The parent sent a furious email demanding the teacher stop using hurtful language about developing bodies. She said her son came home concerned for all the tadpoles' self-image. The teacher tried explaining that tadpoles don't read comments or have TikToks, but the mom insisted the curriculum include positive affirmations for amphibians. Somewhere in the swamp, a frog croaked in disbelief. 7. One parent demanded the firing of a PE teacher because her child came home tired. The complaint letter described exhaustion as a sign of physical abuse and claimed that no child should sweat without consent. The teacher explained that running laps is, in fact, part of gym class, not a war crime. The mom countered that her child wasn't warned exercise would be involved. The school principal tried not to laugh and finally said, "Ma'am, it's called physical education." She replied, "Well, maybe it should be renamed something less aggressive." Congratulations, that's how we got wellness time. 8. A middle school teacher once got reported for creating unrealistic expectations about adulthood. What was the offense? Teaching kids how to write a check. A parent wrote in, furious, saying her child came home crying because checks don't even exist anymore, and this kind of education just makes kids anxious about growing up. The teacher had to explain that the goal wasn't to traumatize anyone, just to help them recognize the strange rectangular paper their rent might still require someday. The parent's final line in the email: next time, maybe just teach them how to manifest financial abundance instead. 9. One dad marched into the school office demanding to know why his son failed participation in science class. The teacher calmly explained that the boy spent every lab period trying to microwave crayons for research. The father wasn't angry about the crayons. He was angry because the teacher didn't respect his son's creative process. He actually said, "Maybe he's the next Einstein." The teacher replied, "Einstein worked with equations, not Crayola." The dad stormed off yelling about anti-innovation bias. Somewhere, a janitor scraped melted wax off the microwave and muttered, "I've seen innovation and this ain't it." 10. A parent once claimed a geography teacher was brainwashing children into globalism because she taught that the Earth is round. The father argued that the district should remain neutral on controversial topics like planetary shape. The teacher thought it was a prank. It wasn't. The dad presented a research packet printed entirely from Facebook screenshots. When the teacher asked if he realized astronauts had literally seen Earth from space, he said, "That's just Hollywood with better graphics." The complaint reached the superintendent, who wrote back one sentence: "The district stands by the spherical model of Earth." 11. One parent accused a kindergarten teacher of psychological manipulation because her child came home believing in sharing. The mom claimed her daughter used to be a strong, independent personality, but now feels pressured to give her crayons to others. She said the teacher was teaching socialist values through art supplies. The teacher patiently explained that sharing helps children make friends. The mom shot back, "That's not how the real world works." Ironically, she ended her email with, "Please forward this to all parents so we can stand together." The irony was so thick, you could spread it on toast. 12. A mom sent a 3-page email because her child came home upset after failing a spelling test. She accused the teacher of destroying self-esteem through the weaponization of words. Her proposed solution? All answers should count as correct if the intention is there. The teacher tried to explain that spelling tests kind of depend on correct spelling. The mom replied, "Language evolves. Maybe my child is just ahead of it." The teacher wanted to respond, "Then tell him to evolve the word Wednesday because he wrote Wednesday 5 times, but opted for silence instead." Somewhere, Webster shed a single, perfectly spelled tear. 13. A parent complained that their child's music teacher was pushing an elitist agenda by teaching classical instruments. They said violins were pretentious and wanted equal time for the kazoo. When told the curriculum was designed to develop coordination and appreciation for art, the parent said, "My kid appreciates TikTok. Isn't that enough?" The teacher offered to let the child try drums. The parent replied, "No, that's too aggressive. He's an empath." The poor kid just wanted to play hot cross buns in peace. Somewhere in Vienna, Mozart spun in his grave like a record at a middle school dance. 14. One furious dad called the school because his son lost a spelling bee on the word quarantine. He demanded a recount, not of the letters, but of the judge's intentions. His argument? They should have known what he meant. The teacher explained that spelling bees are by nature about spelling. The dad shouted, "That's discrimination against creative spellers." The irony, of course, is that he spelled discrimination wrong in his follow-up email, twice. The teacher printed it out and hung it in the staff lounge as a motivational poster titled, "Why We Drink." 15. One parent sent an official letter demanding her child's teacher stop spreading negativity in math class. The trigger? Negative numbers. She argued that minus signs were emotionally harmful and promoted a defeatist worldview. The teacher gently explained that subtraction was not a mood, it was arithmetic. The mom suggested replacing negative and positive with challenge and achievement numbers so children don't associate math with sadness. The teacher tried it for a day just to see what would happen. Within minutes, kids were asking if their grades could be emotionally rounded up. Somewhere, Pythagoras just screamed into the void. 16. A mom complained that her son's teacher encouraged illegal activities because the class read Charlotte's Web. She said it promotes animal rights extremism and makes kids sympathize with pigs. Her email included the line, "My family eats bacon. We don't befriend it." The teacher replied that the book is a literary classic about friendship and loss, not a pork protest manifesto. The mom shot back, "Then why does the spider talk?" It took every ounce of professionalism not to respond. Because it's a book, not a butcher shop. Somewhere, E.B. White's ghost sighed and said, "I warned them about this in Chapter 1. 17. A parent once accused a chemistry teacher of encouraging drug use because they mentioned caffeine in a lesson about stimulants. The dad stormed into the principal's office waving a Starbucks cup and yelling, "So now my coffee is a narcotic?" The teacher tried to explain that caffeine is a legal substance found in beverages, not an invitation to start a cartel. The parent demanded the school ban all chemical discussions that could lead to moral decay. The principal calmly pointed out that everything, including the air we breathe, is made of chemicals. The dad replied, "Not mine. I use filtered water." Somewhere, Marie Curie threw her beaker in despair. 18. One mom claimed her daughter's geography teacher damaged her sense of identity by teaching that the Earth has continents. Her reasoning? Why are we dividing the planet? Shouldn't we be uniting it? She insisted the class switch to emotion-based geography, where boundaries are just suggestions. The teacher tried explaining that maps aren't emotional statements. They're, well, maps. The mom responded, "That's colonial talk." The conversation went in circles so long it could have been used as an example of global rotation. By the end, the teacher just said, "Sure, we'll call Antarctica the friendship zone." Somewhere, an actual globe rolled itself off a desk in protest. 19. A dad filed a complaint against his son's science teacher for promoting witchcraft because she demonstrated static electricity with a balloon. He claimed it was sorcery disguised as physics and said his family doesn't participate in magic rituals. The teacher offered to show him the same experiment, but he refused, saying, "I'm not falling for that Harry Potter nonsense." The school eventually held a meeting to confirm that rubbing a balloon on your head is not, in fact, a spell. The dad left unsatisfied, muttering something about filing a complaint with higher authorities, which, given the context, might have meant either the school board or God. 20. One parent accused a health teacher of indoctrination because she told students that sleep was important. The mom said, "In my house, we believe in productivity, not laziness." She proudly explained that her 12-year-old wakes up at 4 a.m. to build discipline. The teacher tried pointing out that chronic sleep deprivation leads to lower academic performance. The mom snapped, "That's just big mattress talking." The teacher later told her colleagues she'd officially heard every conspiracy theory, until another parent accused the same unit of body-shaming pillows. Somewhere, Freud whispered, "Sometimes a nap is just a nap." 21. A parent complained that their child's teacher encouraged criminal behavior because the class learned how to make paper airplanes. The letter claimed, "My son now thinks it's acceptable to throw objects indoors." The teacher explained it was part of a physics lesson on aerodynamics, not an advanced course in vandalism. The mom demanded disciplinary action and a written apology from the aircraft instructor. To appease her, the principal agreed to ban all paper folding for safety reasons. The next day, a student brought a folded worksheet and got detention for aeronautical misconduct. Somewhere, the Wright brothers looked down and said, "Cancel our legacy, apparently." 22. One mom accused her child's computer science teacher of digital favoritism. Her son's complaint? "The teacher's computer is faster than mine." She wrote that providing better technology to educators is discriminatory and sets unrealistic expectations for children. When the teacher explained that his computer runs lesson software, she said, "That's not my problem. Equality means equal Wi-Fi speed." She even proposed the school issue government-mandated internet fairness cards. The IT department quietly changed the Wi-Fi password and went on break. Somewhere in Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs muttered, "Even I can't debug stupid." 23. A dad once stormed into a parent-teacher conference waving a half-eaten granola bar like it was Exhibit A. He accused his child's science teacher of indoctrination through breakfast snacks. The teacher had mentioned that whole grains were good for energy. which apparently violated the family's commitment to keto purity. He yelled, "You can't just push carbs on kids like propaganda." The teacher replied, "Sir, it was a granola bar, not a manifesto." He demanded that the district provide a balanced view by teaching pro-bacon perspectives. The superintendent ended the meeting by saying, "We'll consider it during Breakfast Wars 2025. 24. One furious mother filed a complaint that her daughter's art teacher forced political commentary by assigning still life painting. The problem? The bowl contained fruit. "We're a carnivore household," she wrote, "and this vegetarian imagery is an attack on our values." The teacher tried explaining that the assignment was about color, light, and shading. The mom replied, "Then why wasn't there a steak?" When told the class didn't have the budget for meat-based art, she said, "Then you clearly don't support artistic freedom." The teacher later admitted she briefly considered sneaking in a sausage just to keep the peace. Somewhere, Van Gogh whispered, "Even I didn't cut off that much sanity." 25. One parent accused a social studies teacher of emotional terrorism because she assigned a group project. The email read, "Forcing children to depend on others sets them up for trauma." The teacher explained that collaboration builds teamwork. The parent countered, "Teamwork failed the Roman Empire." When asked if their child contributed anything to the group, the mom said proudly, "He withdrew his energy to protect his boundaries." The teacher gave him a 0, and the mom appealed to the school board for emotional participation credit. Somewhere in Rome, Caesar muttered, "Et tu, Karen?" 26. A mom demanded her son's teacher be investigated for psychological warfare because he told the class there would be a pop quiz. Not the quiz itself, just the concept of surprise learning. She argued it triggered panic, and that education should be predictable, like Netflix. The teacher explained that unpredictability helps assess real comprehension. The mom replied, "That's manipulative. My son prefers scheduled anxiety." The teacher tried not to laugh, but ended up choking on his coffee when she added, "We're considering transferring him to a school that respects his emotional bandwidth." Somewhere, Pavlov rang a bell and said, "At least my dogs learned something." 27. One dad filed an official report claiming his child's literature teacher encouraged theft because the class read Robin Hood. He argued that praising a man who stole from the rich teaches kids to disrespect capitalism. When the teacher explained it was a centuries-old folktale, he said, "That's no excuse. Crime doesn't expire." The district held a meeting where an administrator had to say out loud, "Robin Hood is not an economic policy." The dad threatened to transfer his kid to a more fiscally conservative school, whatever that means. The teacher later joked, "If I teach Aladdin next week, I'll probably be accused of promoting home invasion." 28. A mom once accused her child's history teacher of sabotage because her daughter didn't win the class geography bee. The mom said the teacher deliberately asked biased questions that discriminated against families who prefer beach vacations. The final question had been, "What is the capital of Nepal?" The mom's argument, "We've never been there. How is that fair?" The teacher tried to explain that travel isn't a prerequisite for learning. The mom replied, "Then maybe make the questions about Disneyland. We know that." Somewhere, a globe quietly spun itself away in embarrassment. 29. One parent demanded a full investigation into the art teacher's agenda. The reason? The class drew self-portraits. The parent wrote, "My daughter is an introvert. You can't just force her to express her face." The teacher patiently explained that art helps children explore identity. The parent said, "Her identity is private." The teacher even offered to let the child draw an abstract version. The mom refused, saying, "Abstraction is emotional chaos." In the end, the kid drew a circle and labeled it Safe Zone. It still got an A. Somewhere, Picasso looked up from the afterlife and said, "Even I never faced this kind of critique." 30. A father wrote a furious email accusing the gym teacher of animal cruelty. Why? Because the kids were running laps around a football field that had a bird's nest nearby. He claimed the repetitive circular movement could confuse baby birds and disrupt their migratory potential. The teacher responded that the birds didn't seem bothered. They'd nested there for years. The dad replied, "That's because no one's explained boundaries to them." He demanded the nest be relocated to a quiet learning environment. The custodian eventually moved it to the school's roof just to stop the emails. Somewhere, the birds tweeted, "We didn't ask for this." 31. A mom once accused her child's English teacher of forcing trauma on minors by assigning the Diary of Anne Frank. She said it was too sad and could affect her daughter's energy field. The teacher explained that empathy and history are part of education. The mom replied, "Empathy is fine, but can we get it from something lighter, like Finding Nemo?" When told that wasn't exactly a World War II memoir, she said, "It's close enough. There's loss. There's courage." The teacher stared at her for a full 5 seconds, wondering if sarcasm was contagious. Somewhere, Anne Frank sighed. Even the attic was quieter than this. 32. A dad accused a teacher of spiritual endangerment after his son brought home a worksheet about the solar system. The problem? The planet Uranus. He declared the name vulgar and said it introduced inappropriate humor into science. The teacher calmly explained the pronunciation and origin of the word. The dad shot back, "Then change it." She said, "Sir, that would require rewriting astronomy." He replied, "Then start with my kid's homework." NASA has yet to respond to this man's personal rebranding campaign. Somewhere, Galileo whispered, "I got arrested for less stupidity than this." 33. One parent accused the cafeteria staff of psychological manipulation because the lunch menu had meatless Monday. She claimed the school was pushing vegan propaganda and making her child question his dietary identity. The teacher explained it was just a cost-saving initiative. The mom replied, "That's how it starts. First it's tofu, then it's tyranny." When told the children could bring their own lunch, she said, "That's not the point. My son deserves meat-based equality." The next week, her kid brought a raw steak to school in protest and got sent home for unsanctioned protein activism. Somewhere, a cow whispered, "Finally, a plot twist." 34. A dad sent a furious email accusing his son's teacher of encouraging hallucinations. The reason? The kids were assigned to close their eyes and imagine a peaceful place during mindfulness hour. He argued, visualization is witchcraft in disguise. The teacher explained it was just a stress relief exercise. The dad countered, "If you need stress relief, try manual labor." When asked what he did for a living, he proudly said, "Crypto." The teacher took a deep breath and realized the stress relief session wasn't for the students. It was for her. Somewhere, a yoga mat quietly screamed. 35. A mom filed a formal complaint because her daughter got a participation ribbon instead of a trophy in field day. She called it discrimination against excellence. The teacher explained everyone got the same ribbon to encourage teamwork. The mom replied, "Teamwork is for losers. My child is a brand." She then suggested the school implement a tiered award system based on vibe. The principal diplomatically said they'd take it under consideration, which is administrative code for absolutely not. The next morning, the mom showed up with a custom-made trophy engraved, "Winner of Participation." Somewhere, Darwin smiled softly and whispered, "Natural selection is taking a coffee break." 36. A parent accused a science teacher of indoctrination because the class watched a documentary about climate change. The mom wrote, "My child came home worried about the planet. That's not education, that's terrorism." The teacher calmly explained it was part of the environmental studies unit. She demanded equal time for alternative theories, including maybe the weather just feels feelings sometimes. The teacher agreed to discuss natural cycles and human impact. She interrupted, "No, I mean spiritual cycles. The earth is moody." The meeting ended with the parent handing the teacher a crystal to balance her carbon aura. Somewhere, Greta Thunberg just blinked twice in disbelief. 37. One father accused his son's art teacher of encouraging rebellion because the class painted protest posters about recycling. He claimed his son was being radicalized by trash. The teacher explained it was Earth Day. The dad snapped, "Exactly. That's a political holiday." He demanded an apology for turning my boy into a trash sympathizer. The irony? His son's poster won first place for creativity. The slogan read, "Keep the planet clean. My dad's losing his mind." The teacher hung it in the hallway. Somewhere, Mother Nature gave a slow, sarcastic clap. 38. A mom complained that her son's PE teacher destroyed his self-esteem by making him play dodgeball. She claimed it was symbolic violence that glorified targeting others. The teacher explained it was just a game. She said, "You're teaching aggression." He replied, "It's foam balls." She shot back, "Foam today, fists tomorrow." To compromise, the school replaced dodgeball with mindful balloon tossing. The kids hated it so much they started sneaking dodgeballs into class anyway. Thus began the underground dodgeball club. Rule 1. You don't talk about dodgeball club. Somewhere, Brad Pitt nodded approvingly. 39. One parent arrived at school with a 32-slide PowerPoint titled "The Hidden Dangers of Phonics." Her argument: teaching kids to sound out words forces them into linear thinking. She warned that letter-based learning suppresses imagination and proposed story vibration therapy instead, where children absorb meaning through feeling, not spelling. The teacher asked how students would learn to read. She said, "Reading is colonial. Stories should come from the heart, not the page." By slide 12, the class hamster looked more literate than half the meeting. Somewhere, Dr. Seuss quietly muttered, "I do not like this anti-phonics sham. I do not like it, Sam I am." 40. A father accused his child's science teacher of mocking religion because she said dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. He insisted the Earth was 6,000 years old and asked for proof of these so-called fossils. When she showed him an actual fossil from the classroom collection, he said, "That's clearly a prop from Jurassic Park." The teacher invited him to visit a natural history museum. He replied, "I don't go to theme parks." The principal later received a follow-up email titled, "Stop teaching fictional lizards." Somewhere in the afterlife, a T-Rex roared, "You've got to be kidding me." 41. A mom demanded her child's math grade be raised because he identifies as advanced. She said grades should reflect how smart he feels inside. The teacher explained that self-esteem is not a grading rubric. The mom argued, "It should be. Confidence is the new competence." The principal tried mediating until she added, "Besides, numbers are judgmental." When told her son answered 2 plus 2 = 22, she said, "That's creative math." The teacher quietly printed a certificate reading "Participation in Arithmetic Feelings" and excused herself to scream into a stapler. Somewhere, Pythagoras set down his triangle and wept. 42. A parent once accused an English teacher of psychological damage because her son wrote a sad poem. She claimed the teacher encouraged darkness by assigning free verse. The poem was about losing a pet goldfish. The mom said it was too emotional and demanded the class switch to positive poetry only. The teacher suggested haikus about nature. The mom replied, "Nature has storms. That's negative." The meeting ended with her shouting, "No more sadness in literature," which, ironically, was more dramatic than anything her son had written. Somewhere, Edgar Allan Poe laughed so hard his raven needed CPR. 43. One dad accused the librarian of political bias because she placed fiction and nonfiction on opposite sides of the room. He claimed separating truths from lies is a partisan act. The librarian said, "That's literally how libraries work." He countered, "So you're gatekeeping reality now?" He then suggested rearranging all books alphabetically by emotion. The meeting ended when he angrily checked out 1984 to see how deep this indoctrination goes. Somewhere, Orwell whispered, "I didn't mean it as a how-to guide." 44. A mom filed a complaint saying her daughter's chemistry teacher encouraged recklessness by allowing a baking soda volcano experiment. She wrote, "That's how real explosions start." The teacher assured her it was perfectly safe. The mom replied, "That's exactly what they said about microwaves." She demanded future experiments be chemical-free. The teacher pointed out that life itself is made of chemicals. The mom said, "Not mine. I buy organic." Somewhere, the entire periodic table collectively face-palmed. 45. A parent accused the drama teacher of corrupting morals because her son got cast as the villain in the school play. The mom said it was unfair typecasting and that her child doesn't give off evil energy. The teacher tried explaining that someone had to play the antagonist. She replied, "Then pick someone who deserves it." When the teacher pointed out that acting is pretend, the mom said, "Pretending is lying." She demanded her son be recast as a morally superior tree. The next night, the boy stood center stage wearing a leaf hat, shouting, "Photosynthesis," with the intensity of a Shakespearean hero. Somewhere, Meryl Streep stood up and applauded. 46. One dad called the school furious because his son's report card said, "Needs improvement in teamwork." He shouted, "That's impossible. He plays online games for 8 hours a day." The teacher explained that screaming "Get wrecked" into a headset doesn't count as collaboration. The dad argued that leadership in battle royale environments should qualify as a life skill. When told that insulting teammates isn't leadership, he said, "It builds resilience." The teacher later told colleagues, "If Fortnite ever starts giving diplomas, this guy's kid is graduating with honors." Somewhere, Socrates sighed, "So, this is how civilization ends, with lag." 47. A mom accused the school counselor of instilling negativity because her daughter came home saying she was stressed. The mom said, "We don't use that word in our family. We manifest calm." The counselor explained that acknowledging stress helps manage it. The mom insisted, "You're cursing her with emotions." She then handed over a small crystal and demanded the school vibrate at a higher frequency. The counselor politely declined and offered breathing exercises instead. The mom replied, "We only breathe gratitude." Somewhere, Buddha whispered, "Lady, please exhale." 48. And finally, one glorious dad accused a teacher of sabotaging his family's reputation because his son failed a test on basic common sense. The test was about reading instructions. The dad argued, "He's a visual learner. He doesn't read, he intuits." The teacher explained that following written directions is part of the curriculum. The dad yelled, "Maybe your directions were bad vibes." He demanded the grade be overturned and replaced with energetic credit. When the teacher refused, he threatened to go to the school board and then emailed the complaint, without an attachment. Somewhere, the universe itself face-palmed and whispered, "Case closed." And that, my friends, was the parent-teacher battlefield, where logic goes to detention and irony gets straight A's. Which complaint deserves an honorary diploma in stupidity? Drop your vote in the comments. I'll be grading on creativity and sheer absurdity.